out of nothing into something I love. I got a poker face, but honestly, I'm not one to bluff. I flip a switch, never miss.
What's going on YouTube? It's your big homie, the armchair operator, and today we're going to do a full 1,000 round review of the venerable Staccato P. Now, a couple of things before we get started. First thing is, I want to give a huge shout out to the Bunker Gun Shop. They are the ones who supplied the Staccato for this review. They have 2 locations serving the greater Philadelphia area with lots of great inventory to choose from, and plus they are a Staccato shop, so check them out. I want to leave the link to their website down in the details section of this video. Give them a call. Maybe they have something that you're looking for. You never know, so check them out. The second thing, now I know I was supposed to do a first shots video for y'all, and usually when I do my first shots videos, it's maybe like a couple hundred rounds, maybe 200, 250 at the most. But listen, that 250 turned into 500. It quickly turned into 750, and here we are, over 1,000 rounds fired. So I just figured it made sense to just do a full 1,000 round review since I done already passed the 1,000 round mark. So I just want to give y'all my thoughts about that. Maybe a little bit of background information on Staccato or 2011s in general. This is my first 2011, but I have done, some research and homework, on the 2011 platform. I talked to people who have 2011, so hopefully I could pass some of that information off to y'all. It's a bit of a different animal than your standard polymer, polymer frame striker firing handgun is, but I'm going to talk a little bit about that briefly in this video and just give you my thoughts on the Staccato P in general. So the next thing I also want to say is I had a goal to reach 150 subscribers by my birthday. My birthday was July 31st. As of the recording of this video, Thursday, August the 3rd, that was just a few days ago. We not only hit that 150 subscriber mark, but we passed it by a good deal. So I gotta give respect, and I got to give my thanks to everybody who subscribed to the channel, all those who are watching the videos, liking the videos, commenting, sharing the videos, all of that. I really appreciate it. It really helps the channel grow, and it'll help me to bring you guys some worthwhile content. So let's keep the party rolling. I hope to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So I think it's very doable, and with y'all help, we can definitely make that happen. All right, so with all that out of the way, let's get down into the nitty-gritty of this review. Now, Staccato was originally known as STI International, and under that name, the company produced a line of competition-oriented 1911 style pistols. They later changed their name to STI Staccato, and then finally in 2020, they rebranded themselves to just call themselves Staccato. Now, since then, the Staccato line of 2011 handguns have been the company's flagship handgun, which continues to this day. They also coined the term 2011. Now, what is a 2011? So a 2011 is essentially a 1911 that comes in 3 main components. You have, I would just to keep it simple for y'all, it's the slide in the barrel, one piece. You have the actual frame of the gun, which is the serialized part in this case, and you also have the grip module, which is usually polymer, but you can get aluminum grip modules and so on and so forth. The same thing with the frames. Let me just back up for a second. Same thing with the frames. They could come in either aluminum or steel. So essentially there are 3 main pieces, whereas the standard 1911 is basically a slide, a barrel assembly, a frame, and so on and so forth, like any other handgun. So I just wanted to explain that for y'all. And they have been producing kind of duty style pistols ever since the rebranding in 2020, but they also have your more competition oriented versions of the Staccato line too. So, but just to back up really quick, essentially there are several different flavors. You have the concealed carry versions, which is basically like your Staccato C, your C2, and your CS. They're your smaller pistols. Then you have the duty slash law enforcement footprint, which would be the Staccato P, and then or the Staccato XL as well too, and then you have your more competition oriented versions, which is like the Staccato SC, the XC, the XC, that's the one with the integrated compensator, built into the gun. So essentially the Staccato line is meant to essentially cover all segments from concealed carry, home defense, duty use, competition, so on and so forth. So that's the basic long and the short of the Staccatos. They are also trusted by a number of law enforcement agencies, and if I'm not mistaken, a couple of them that comes to the top of my head, I think I'm not sure if they were the LAPD. I think they do, but I'm not 100% sure. But I know the U.S. Marshal Service do, and I believe the Texas Rangers also use them too. But there are a lot of other law enforcement agencies that use this handgun. And, basically it's interesting because the Staccato line is viewed by some as the Glock of the 2011 world. So basically you have a gun that can be used for concealed carry, duty use, that's very reliable, and it's reliable enough for people to trust their lives with this gun. So that says a lot. Not only that, Staccato is pretty much the gold standard, I won't say the gold standard, but it's basically the bar that everybody tends to compare different 2011s and 1911s to, whether you're talking about guns like the Springfield Prodigy or the Bull Armory line of 1911 handguns, or if you're going on the high end, if you're talking about your Atlas Customs, or you're talking about your Atlas Gunworks, your Nighthawks, and so on and so forth. Everybody compares the guns to Staccato, so that ought to tell you something right then and there, what type of product you have with the Staccato. So I'm not fanboying, I'm just saying that just tells you what we got here. So, but anyway, enough about that. Let's just get into the specs and features and just kind of do an overview really quick of, of the gun, what it comes with from the factory right out of the box, and, we'll go from there. All right, here we are, y'all. This is the Staccato P, as you can see right here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a quick clear check. As you can see, it is unloaded. Magazine is empty, and I'm just going to let the slide go home. All right. So right off the bat, the gun comes with 3 magazines. You get a 20 rounder and you get these 2 17 rounders right here. I don't have the 20 rounder actually in the review space because I actually keep that one, ready to go, and it's in my safe at the moment. So that's why it is not here, but it comes with 3 magazines. Let's see. Let's start from the top, right? So we have on the top here Dawson Precision front fiber optic sight and a blacked out rear sight. This rear sight is adjustable for, I believe, windage. I don't think it's adjustable for elevation, but it's definitely adjustable for windage, and that's the screw right here. And these are really good sights. I gotta say, I really like these sights. It also makes for quick target acquisition. So that's definitely a good thing right there. I had no problem lining up my sights on the range quickly and, getting shots off quickly. So these are really good. Let's see. Let's keep going here. So we have what's called a DLC coating on the actual slide itself. Now, DLC coating is a very, very durable finish. It's a very durable finish. It's kind of slick. So that's one of the things that I'm going to point out right from the gate when you're talking about some of your lower end 1911 or 2011s. Sometimes the finish, they have good finishes, but the finishes aren't as robust as, say, a DLC finish. And sometimes those finishes can feel a little porous. And by porous, I mean a little bit rough. This is actually has a smooth texture to it. So some people like the rougher texture when it comes to the finish. I'm kind of the opposite. You know, that's neither here nor there. That's just a me thing. It just feels more premium, in my opinion, when it has like a nice, smooth, robust finish. But anyway, we have a stainless steel bull barrel. You could tell the bull barrel. I know we just checked it, so internet RSOs don't freak out. Okay, I just wanted to show you the crown on the barrel. So we have a bull barrel and we have a reverse crown. So one thing I'm going to say as well is you could tell an older Staccato from a newer Staccato just basically looking at the front here, because some of the older Staccatos, the barrel sticks out a little bit from the slide. It's still a bull barrel, but it doesn't have that reverse crown that the current production models have. So, you know, just in case you were wondering. From there, we have an ambidextrous safety, you know, with a nice prominent ledge. So that's really good here. Skeletonized hammer, skeletonized trigger. The trigger on this one is polymer. So, also as well, so this particular gun is the aluminum frame Staccato P. They also offer this in a steel frame, which is slightly heavier. The grip itself is polymer, and this is just like a pretty standard texture on the grip itself. Then we have our grip safety with a nice memory pad. It actually feels really good too. You can get that good purchase on here, you know what I mean, when you're gripping the gun. So for those of you who may not know, 1911s have two safeties. You have an external safety, which is typically something like this, and you also have a grip safety. Now, another thing as well is these guns are single action only. So what does that mean? So essentially, if I take the safety off with the hammer in the rear position, this hammer is fully cocked. Squeezing the trigger will drop the hammer. That's it. Once this hammer is down, squeezing the trigger will not do anything else. That's what I mean by single action. It's essentially a single action of the trigger, if that makes any sense. The difference between a single action and, say, you know, some of your other guns that might be double action, like your Berettas, most of your revolvers, CZ, some of your CZs, and so on and so forth, is that when you're double action gun, squeezing the trigger will also draw the hammer back and cock it. And then when you draw all the way, you know, to the end of its travel, it'll release the hammer. Hammer will drop, hit the striker, firing pin, and then that will, of course, hit the cartridge and send the bullet out of the barrel. So that's the difference. So one of the things about a 1911 or 2011 style pistol is that it's something that you have to get used to if you're not used to it. A lot of people say, you know, it's not a gun for novice shooters, and I tend to agree with that, especially if you've never had any training and you've never shot a gun before. It's not hard to master or understand. It's just that the thing about it is you just really have to work these external safeties in your battery of arms and understand exactly what you're doing. So when you're drawing the gun, if you're carrying it cocked and locked, you want to practice drawing and sweeping that safety off as you present the gun. And of course, you want to do so with your finger off the trigger. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of people say that 2011s or 1911s, whatever, these type of single action guns are not really recommended for novices. My opinion is I wouldn't recommend it to a point, but if you get trained, you should get training on all firearms, period. That's my opinion. You should definitely always seek training. Even when you're training, you know, continue to train yourself and seek more training. There's always, you know, room for growth and development. But my point is, you have to train for that. You definitely want to train for that. But anyway, enough of the training talk. So this particular one has a polymer grip module, and this is what I was saying before when you have 2011s that are kind of in different components. You know, basically you got this section here, the slide in the barrel, recoil spring, and so on and so forth. This particular piece right here is the frame of the gun. This is the aluminum portion, and this is what I meant by that. This is the actual serialized part in this case. And now you have the grip module, which is basically all of this plus the trigger guard, and actually the trigger and all the other components is contained within the grip module itself. Now, the grip module is actually removed by undoing these screws here, here, and also the corresponding screws on the other side, and that will remove the grip module for the gun. Now, a lot of people like to put on custom grip modules, you know, for whatever reason. You know, I myself am thinking about getting a grip module with a more aggressive texture than this one, and I'll actually get into the reasons why when I talk about my range experience. But normally this is a good, I mean, this is a decent grip texture, but I would like a more aggressive grip texture. And also we have a Magwell here. Now the Magwell comes installed from the factory, and you can actually remove this Magwell. It is retained by your by this pin right here that's going through the back of the mainspring housing, as you can see here. Now the thing about that is, if you were to remove this Magwell, and you know what you're going to want to have is another pin here that's actually a little shorter, so it'll fit flush in the grip. So that's something you want to keep in mind. I like the look of the Magwell. I actually may get a shorter retaining pin at some point just to remove the Magwell, because I mean I didn't buy this for concealed carry, but I mean, who knows, I may consider doing that at some point. And obviously with the Magwell installed, it leads to a higher chance of printing. But I just wanted to point that out. That's the pin right there. Just drive that guy out, take it off, you know, put your replacement pin in there, and you're good to go. If you look at some of the other Staccato models, like the C2, for example, they don't typically have Magwells installed because obviously more concealed carry oriented gun there. We also have a Picatinny rail with one rail slot underneath for your lights and so on and so forth. I do plan on putting a Surefire on this gun at some point. Oh, and also this particular gun is optics ready. So this particular Staccato is the what they call the Staccato P DPO. DPO stands for Dawson Precision Optic. Now, some of your older Staccatos will be called like a duo. So you might see a Staccato C2 duo or a Staccato P duo, whatever. That actually is short for Dawson Universal Optic. And essentially, all they really did is the optics mounting system. They just revised it a little bit for the newer Staccato pistols. So now they're called Dawson Precision Optic DPO. This is a DPO model. So just in case you might be wondering about that. It also comes with some additional tools in the bag here. It also comes with some additional tools if you wish to adjust the windage on the optic itself. And we also have some additional fiber optic rods here for the front sight. Here are the Allen keys in case you want to remove the grip, adjust your windage, and so on and so forth. And there's also a little nylon punch in here too. Yeah, see? So I do like the fact that they give you, you know, tools if you want to do some further disassembly of your Staccato pistol, you can do so right from the gate. Now, speaking of disassembly, so typically 1911s, they don't, you know, for maintenance, right? They don't disassemble the same way that, well, I will say they don't disassemble as easy as, say, a polymer frame gun would disassemble. However, this particular one, you know, for maintenance is actually really easy. You know, it's really easy. And this particular gun has what's called the Dawson Precision Toolless Guide Rod System. So essentially, I'm going to, hopefully YouTube won't bang me for this, but I'm going to do it anyway. So what you want to do right here, this is the slide catch, slide release. And there's another piece on this side here. So let me do something really quick to disassemble this gun. And I just like to use a tool when I do it, just to, you don't have to do this, but there's a particular part that, or I like to use a little something just to give me a little bit of leverage. But essentially, first thing you want to do, always make sure that the gun is clear. And this particular gun is clear. So you have two notches here and here. The first thing you want to do is you want to line the slide up to the small notch here. And then on the other side, right here, you just want to push that forward until it unseats. Now you want to keep tension on your recoil spring because it's under tension. So you just want to give it just a little push to get it out. And you can remove that, and then you just gently ease the slide off the gun. So from here, what you do, you have your guide rod system here. So you just compress this guide, compress the spring. Now this is what I meant by toolless guide rod. You just push up on there and you just release tension ever so slightly until it catches, and then you just remove the guide rod from the gun. And then you can just work the barrel out the front. Oh, it's actually giving me a little bit of fight. Oh, I'm sorry. You got to rotate that down first. I'm sorry, guys. Oh boy. And then you just work it out of the gun. And it is field strip. So as far as cleaning and lubrication, that's basically all you really have to do. If you want to remove and take the recoil guide rod completely apart, you would just compress this in while you're holding this, holding this piece, because remember it's under spring tension, and then this plunger will just come right off, and then you can remove the spring from the guide rod. Easy peasy. So one thing you're going to have to do if you're thinking about getting into a 1911 or a 2011 is that you're going to have to be very, I won't say meticulous, but you're going to have to stay on top of your cleaning and lubrication. And as a matter of fact, some of the instructions in the Staccato manual basically tell you that you want to lubricate your firearm before you shoot. Reason for that is these guns are built with very tight tolerances, especially something this expensive. So like I said before, you want to kind of treat it like your car in a sense. Like you want to keep it clean, you want to keep it properly oiled. In this case, this has a little bit more oil because it's going to be, put away for a little while, but you want to keep your gun clean and you want to keep it oiled. So anyway, enough about that. Let's try to put this back together. So we're going to make sure our barrel link is down. We're going to slide this in again from the front, rotate that back. We're going to put our guide rod assembly, making sure that this piece, the little horseshoe, is facing the barrel. So we just want to slot that guy in and push this forward. Now when we do that, we're going to take our thumb here, put spring tension on the back, make sure that clips in, and then slowly guide it back until it's in place. And now we want to make sure this link is forward here. I don't know if you can see that. Make sure that's forward, and we want to put it back, put the slide assembly back on the frame of the gun. So I'm going to try to do this the best I can for y'all. This piece can get a bit tricky because essentially what you have to do is you have to line up the barrel link with that hole in order to get the slide catch back into place. So I try to do that like this because sometimes this barrel link has a tendency to fall back like that. So you want it like this so that way you can put your slide catch back in. So again, I guess I don't know if you can see that. So all right, bet. So we got it lined up. So we just want to stick that guy in, and then we just, once you get it in a little bit, we're gonna line it up with that hole again. Make sure it's even, push it all the way in, and we are golden. Function check. And we are good to go. All right, so that's basically how you disassemble and reassemble the Staccato P. That's one of the things that I really like about it, because you don't need tools to take it apart. Some of your other 2011, 1911s, and you might have to use a paper clip to capture the recoil spring before you remove it from the firearm and all that. But with this, you don't have to do all that. So I really like that. Okay, so with all of that being said, I'm pretty sure you guys are real curious about how this gun handled for me on the range. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how this gun handled for me on the range so far. All right, so real quick before we get into the range portion of it, just to go back to the features and accessories. So like I said, the Staccato P is cut for your optic, and I believe it's cut for the Loophole Delta Point Pro. So from what I'm hearing, you can install the Delta Point Pro on the Staccato P without an optics plate. But if you want to put another red dot on it, like a Trijicon RMR or Hollow Sun or something like that, then you're going to have to order the optics plate from Staccato. Now, be warned. Last check, the optics plate itself was like $164. So yeah, that's kind of steep for an optics plate. But again, if you're getting into a Staccato and you want to mount a red dot other than the Delta Point Pro, you're going to have to get the plate from Staccato. That's just kind of the way it is. Also, the magazines themselves can get pretty pricey. I believe some of the I've seen standard 20-round magazines for like $130 or something like that. I think the 17-rounders might be around $80 or something. So, they're not cheap. They are not cheap. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there real quick. So again, range experience. All right, so if you remember from the beginning of the video, I said I was going to do an initial first shots for y'all. I was going to do a video for y'all talking about my first shots and my initial experience and my thoughts. And I kind of got out of hand. This is what I meant by like I messed up, because it turned out to be a first shots initially, but the gun just feels so damn good to shoot on the range. It went from 250. Next thing you know, I turned around and I was like 500 rounds in like the first day. I've never done that, but that just kind of goes to show you just how fun it is to run this thing. So the thing about 1911s and 2011s with that trigger is just so soft, man. It's like a 4-pound trigger, which honestly, since I have 1,000 rounds to it, it might even be a little lighter than that now, but it is so smooth, and it has such, it has a little bit of take up, but it has such a smooth reset. Matter of fact, let me just show you real quick about that, about the trigger real fast. So, all right. So again, gun is empty. So let me ghost this for you right quick. So as you can see, holding the grip safety. That's it. That's the mush. And then you just That's it, y'all. Like I'm trying to tell you. And then release. Look at that. It's just so short. It's crazy. It's crazy. So that being said, as you can tell, I had fun. And first things first, right? So I started off running some hollow points. I ran some 124 grain, plus P federals that I had. And I also ran some Hornady critical duty loads through it. That was my first magazine, and it ate it all with no problems. And then the rest of the rounds that I've put through were basically 115 grain MagTech full metal jackets, all factory new. And I gotta say, all my range sessions, I didn't have any malfunctions. Not a stovepipe, not a failure to feed, light primer strike, none of that. Now, it literally ate everything I put through it. Now, I will say this. After my first 500 rounds, I did clean the gun. You can actually run it longer than, you can actually put more than 500 rounds through the gun without necessarily having to clean it. But I just kind of wanted to clean it anyway, just to be on the safe side. As a general rule, you want to clean these guns every 1,000 rounds at least. Like I said, I just like to go, a little bit of extra and just clean it every 500 rounds, but you should definitely stay on top of that. The reason for that is, like I said, because of those tight tolerances. So if you don't clean the guns like you're supposed to, you tend to get like a lot of fouling and like a lot of other crap down in the frame rails and in the grips and so on and so forth. And what will eventually happen is that slide will start to get sluggish on you, and then you may still run into malfunction. So you don't want that. Like I said, 2011s by design, as well as 1911s by design, require more care and maintenance. That's just the way that it goes. This design is well over 100 years old. So, it's an old design. It's not like your polymer frame gun. So, you can't treat this like your Walther PDP or your Glock or your SIG P320s or whatever and expect it to run forever. No, you have to clean and you have to take care of these. So just bear that in mind. But like I said, I didn't have any problems at all. And the natural point of aim from, the double stack 1911 grip, it just fits my hands so well. Because I have larger hands, sometimes I struggle a little bit with guns that have, smaller, thinner grips. But with the double stack 2011 here, the Staccato, it just fits my hands like a glove. The perfect length of pull from my trigger finger, combined with that single action trigger and that soft, that short reset, on top of the fact that I can ride the safety because it has an external safety, and it's a match made in heaven. Like, I really like running the Staccato, period. So that's how I got carried away. That's how I got messed up. Just to kind of explain that to y'all, I just had a lot of fun shooting this thing. And I didn't have any problems. So if you decide that you want to get into this gun, rest assured, you do your part. This gun is going to do its part, period. Tight groups, everything. So, but anyway, like I said, I had a fantastic range experience. Now I will say this though. Now, one criticism that I have about the Staccato is the grip texture. So under normal conditions, the grip texture is cool, but as you're shooting and the gun tends to heat up and your hands start to sweat, you may struggle a little bit trying to maintain a secure grip on the gun. Like, it's not going to fly out of your hands like you're holding a wet fish or anything like that. But it was definitely noticeable, especially with some of my groupings, because I just kind of had a difficult time, gripping the gun because my hands were starting to sweat because the gun was getting hotter. So that was one of the reasons why I said that I'm thinking about getting, a grip with more aggressive grip texture. Of course, the other solution to that is what I've also have done on the range is just put gloves on, right? So that's always an option too. But a little bit more grip texture would have been ideal in that case. That's the only real criticism about the Staccato that I have from a functional standpoint. honestly, I don't really have anything else bad to say about it from a functional standpoint. Just a little bit more extra texture on the grip, and I'm good, you know. I'm golden. So, but anyway, this video is getting a little long-winded, right? So let's just it's time to close it out so I can turn y'all loose. All right, y'all, so just to close things out, I really enjoy the Staccato P. I'm glad I picked it up. You know, this gun it's a high quality gun from a reputable manufacturer. They basically say it's the Glock of the 2011s for good reason. I mean, it's been reliable for me. It's trusted by men and women of the law enforcement community, all, you know, in multiple different agencies around the country. You know, a lot of civilians use it from competition, for concealed carry, home defense, whatever the case may be. So the gun is proven. It is proven, and you know, for the MSRP of roughly $2,400. It hit doggone well better be. It hit damn well better be. But I gotta say, I don't regret the investment. It is it's an excellent gun. It's an excellent gun. So, just period. Like I said, it's a little pricey, and the accessories are not cheap, you know, but you know, you're getting a lot of quality with that, you know. Like I said, just from the DLC finish, like some of the manufacturing that went into the Staccato is the reason why it's so expensive. Now, granted, there are lower cost options out there, like your Springfield Prodigies and your Bull Armories and so on and so forth. But again, this is a premium gun here, you know. Now, interestingly though, as far as the 1911 and 2011 world goes, the Staccato is actually on the lower end price wise. I mean, when you're talking about like your Atlas Aries, that's like north of $5,000, and your Nighthawk Customs that are similarly priced, and some other more Gucci 1911, 2011s that are closing in on 10 grand. $2,500 is pretty cheap compared to all of that. So just kind of bear that in mind. But again, the Staccato P, the Staccato C, the C2, all those guns, those are the guns that everybody compares all the other 2011, 1911s in this space. They compare it to that. So again, that's saying something. Whether you like it, love it, hate it, whatever, it just is what it is. But anyway, guys, you know, I'm going to close this out. So thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, please send me a like. Definitely drop a comment down in the details section. Do you have a Staccato? Do you have any 1911s or 2011s? Are you thinking about getting one? What are some of your experiences with it? Let's talk about it down in the details section, man. In the comments section. I'm sorry. Let's talk about it in the comments. Let's get this discussion popping, y'all. Again, I want to thank everyone for watching these videos and taking the time out to watch, like, share. I really appreciate it. You know, thank you for helping the channel to grow, and I really look forward to bringing you guys some worthwhile content. All right, that's it from me. Y'all take care. Have a good one. This is the Armchair Operator signing off.